Good morning, Arti. How are you doing?
Morning, John. Bright and early. Well, it's still dark outside.
I know, I
Doing
know.
well.
I always feel so grateful when a West Coaster decides to join the show, but it is such a hard task. It's 6 a.m. for you. And so I'm very, very grateful for you to take the time to talk today. I know our audience will be as well, but it's a real coffee chat when you're getting the caffeine going mid show. So,
100%. And
well,
happy to be here.
I'm so grateful for you to be here. Look, let me get the show kicked off real quick and we'll go. I'm very excited to have this show get started. I've gotten to know Arti a little bit over the last year. I love her story. I'm excited for you to learn her story with me here live. I love the way she thinks. And she brings an outcome mindset by default. And that is why I wanted to have Arti on this show. In a world in where we're moving, uptime is no longer the value if we're moving towards this AI transformation. Uptime is a value, but not the only value. And so we have to shift from uptime to outcome. We don't have to do it immediately, but we have to do it over some period of time. And today's show is really going to be about that. It's going to be about the foundations you can do to set yourself up. If you're not ready to do an AI practice today, don't worry. That's normal. That's the standard. Not everybody's doing it. And quite frankly, it's a low percentile doing it. But as I talk to more and more MSPs, a lot of people are putting the foundations in place. They're planting the trees today so they can sit under the shade tomorrow. And so that's the meat of today's show. If you don't know Arti, I'm so excited for you to meet her. Arti, I'd love for you to tell us the story of your journey to now being over at TeamLogic IT, what led you there, and a little bit about yourself as well as we jump into the show.
All right. Thank you. First of all, John, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I'm an early morning person, so 6 a.m. is perfect for me. I'm skipping actually another call to be on this call. So, hey, no worries there. But a little bit about myself. So I got into TeamLogic about 10 years ago. I'm in my year 10, celebrating my 10th year as an MSP this year.
Wow.
I'm an engineer. I come from an engineering background. About 10 years ago, I had some health issues, so I decided to software development. I did software development for 20 something years, and I had some health issues. And I had back issues. I could no longer sit in front of the computer for 8 hours a day, so I needed to make a life choice. At that time, I was trying to figure out what else I can do. So I decided to get into the other side of IT. Did the software side for 20 something years, decided to get on the other side of IT, the network infrastructure and the service side. The reason why I got into TeamLogic is one, IT was known to me. It was familiar, but not the IT as in, hey, the help desk side, or I built computers. That's something I didn't do. I got into TeamLogic IT or the MSP industry is because I was on the other side. I knew the level of support that anybody who works on computers or technology needs and deserves. And I noticed that the small businesses, SMBs, other businesses, it was a difficult thing for people to get that. So I got into this field with a service mindset that, hey, I'm here to take care of my clients. In my IT company, everybody knows that we are a customer service company. The only difference is that we service IT, we service technology, we service technology needs for our clients. So having that mindset makes a big difference for us. And I can see it in my employees. The poster that you see behind me, I designed it.
I love it.
It's all the things that I believe in when I started the company. And every time, actually, like it's a story, every time I interview somebody, the final interview, and they come to my office, I have them look at this and tell me three things that stand out. What that tells me from that poster, what that tells me is that what do they value? And if the values match, then we move forward. So that's the company I have built. That's the company I have tried to build and I've succeeded.
Yeah, I absolutely think you have. Arti, you as a very humble person on the other side of the phone here. I read your story, the write-up that TeamLogic did. You have an amazing story, and I think that you're going to have a lot of value today. I love the poster thing. I did that. I noticed it when we first jumped on, but I love that little nugget of what are the three things that jump out to you. Um, Not to put you on the spot, but I'm sure you know a lot of the words up on that poster. Like, what are the three things that jump out to you?
Be humble, over communicate, and take care of the client.
I like it. I think we're going to come back to those because I want to talk about the foundations today, and I think those are a lot of the foundations. If we be humble, we over communicate, and we take care of our clients, it doesn't matter which way we can be through. I think when we look at, you mentioned you 10 years at TeamLogic, that means you've made it through a few transitions. That means you've made it from server to cloud. That means you've probably been able to start delivering cybersecurity offerings. And that's why I think you're probably looking at AI and going, I've been here before. It's a little bit different, but we've been here in these transformations before. And I'm assuming do those three values make it through every one of those transitions for you already?
They did.
I love it. And anything else, like as we look back in our past, like I would love to kind of start jumping a little bit into the topics that show here. Like as we think about that past, the server to cloud transition and I like to call it from like AV to cyber, because we used to always do cyber. It was just called AV. And it was not really, we know the differences there, but like what, as you think about, and you're looking into the future space with AI, how are you thinking about what you've learned from those two journeys and applying them to this next epoch or this next era of transformation that's heading in front of us?
The one thing that I will say that's going to be constant and that has been constant throughout any transition that you go through is that you have to educate the customer. You have to educate the customer and the client about everything. As an MSP, we are in the tech industry, so we know so much more, and we go in with the assumption that everybody does. Like when we were talking about from you mentioned the cloud, this on-prem server to cloud. The customers just hear the buzzwords. So for them, it's buzzwords, but you have to educate them that this is probably not the right thing for everybody. That's how I approach it. I always take a consultative approach and go in with this is probably not the right thing for everybody. Let's see if this is the right fit for you. On the cybersecurity front, it was the opposite. I knew as an expert, I knew what was the correct thing for each customer. So it was still an educational thing, but it was more in terms of, hey, we see the risks that our customers face every single day. We see what the stories, and here's what you need to do. Now, in the transition with the AI, it's a mix. The funny thing is that when it comes to I have some customers that are far ahead of the curve than so many of others. So then it's a mix. It's so for some we still have to say, let's take a step back and make sure, great that you're looking into this and you're trying to figure this out, but let's still take a step back and get you there the correct way, the secure way. But as for some customers, we just have to educate them. I
Yeah.
still have a customer who has made the decision that they're going to allow no AI in their company.
Wow. That's a bold stance. I don't know if I don't even actually know if I can disagree with it. I don't know the customer, of course, but I don't know. That's an interesting approach to the problem.
It's interesting approach, except that with the way AI is going, it's difficult to have the no AI.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at the browser. Browsers have added Chrome has Gemini now. So if you search something, Gemini responds.
Yeah.
So having the no AI approach, it's all you have. Yeah, it's all just we're all learning. Let me put it that way.
I think one stream commonality. I have a few things that almost always pop up across all the topics and all the leadership principles and all the different things and all the different epochs, and it all boils down to education's a big one. I want to peel that back a little layer here in a minute, and then curiosity, and I think they're intertwined. You have to be curious to always want to be educated, and you always have to be curious to learn to teach your customer. I do want to take a quick side note. If you're looking to learn anything from Arti, now would be a wonderful time to ask. I have all sort of questions. I think we're going to go the whole show here on great questions for Arti. But hey, you don't want to hear my questions. I'm sure something's rattling around in your head. Take the time to ask. I see quite a few people piling in here, and so I want to make sure you'd say something if you got a question there. So you said education to the customer is important. Break down the buzzwords, I think is the phrase you used. I want to know maybe some tips or some ways that you're doing that today with customers around AI, because I think one of my challenges, and I'm in it every day, reading every article, is I still struggle to keep up with it. How are you helping customers navigate this almost paralysis because there's just so much noise coming at them from so many different angles?
It's an interesting question. So I realized that I started back in 2023. That's like, oh my God, that's 3 years ago. I had an in-person session where invited my customers and my local community, and we had an expert come in and talk to us about Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. And the goal was, again, at that time, it started at that time with the education component of it. Then I realized before I can go into my customers, internally, my team needs to be educated. They need to. So it started with, let's get my team on board with everything AI so that they can help the customer. And also the education part comes when they hear something from a customer, they can respond better. So I'm going to take a step back and say, before we educate the customer, we spent almost a year within internally having my team go through. We have Copilot licenses. We got them ChatGPT, OpenAI ChatGPT licenses. We have a lot of vendors who provide the AI training. So we've used everything. One thing that I believe I shared, getting myself educated, any certification like you, I'm in the weeds, and it seems like it doesn't stop. So I've gotten myself to learn about the things, what's good, where do I spend my time, kind of thing. And then the next thing with the customers, it starts with letting them know that we are here for if they have questions. To me, that's the biggest thing, because most MSPs, when you talk to the customers, they think they're there to solve computer issues. And they don't think of them as, hey, I have this question about this. Can I call my IT, and will they be able to help? So just having that conversation. So in the last year, every time I've had a conversation with my client, I've brought up AI. I've brought up, hey, I know it's there. I know sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's exciting. Where are you on that scale? And getting to know from them where they are so that we can meet them where they are and help them get to the next level, or keep them happy where they are securely. So that's the first step, talking to your customers. Then the next thing is, having the security discussion is more important than having the, hey, let's jump on the AI bandwagon. Having the are you doing it safely and securely? Because AI is so new for everybody that not knowing what you're putting out there, not knowing how it's being used, how it could impact your business, they need to know. They're looking at us for that. So that's the second thing. I always start my clients with, hey, do you have an AI acceptable use case policy? That's the first thing you need to put in your company. And then let's talk about secure, how you want to. So it's a multi-step process. First starts with having the conversation with them. Security, we've talked about data governance. That's so important. And then just seeing where they are and what's next.
Yeah, you gave a lot of meat there that I want to pull back. And first off, I wanted to say hi to Martial. He's joined us on the call. I don't know if you know Martial Valles. He's a wonderful human being. You should get to know him if you don't know him. But I love seeing you here, and I love seeing bringing MSPs to the forefront and talking about this stuff. It's the only way we're all going to learn. What you said, and I'm going to kind of recap it back, is internalize. I kind of want to peel that layer here in a minute, because I think some MSPs maybe are struggling with that change management, that J curve, and the reality of internalizing, because it sounds easy. Let's just give everybody the tools, but transformation's tough. So we might talk about transformation internally next, but I want to recap some of those key points for people that might have missed it. She just gave 3 really good tactics. She said, hey, if you're not in front of your customers today as much as you want, you need to start that. Even if you're not delivering AI, because if you're going to put an AI practice in your business next year, they need to look at you not as, and I'm going to maybe use a derogatory term here in the MSP world, you're not a janitor. They need to look at you as the person who helps transform their business. And so you're not going to be able to deliver that AI practice next year as the quote unquote janitor if you don't have that transformation relationship with your customer. And so even if you're not doing AI today, that's super critical. I think taking the cyber lens is really good. We already know how to talk cyber. We already know how to bring that into our customer's relationship. And the foundations have to be secure before we even do it. So it's a nice wedge into the dialogue. And then the last 2 other tactics you gave us, AI AUP, and acceptable use policy, that's a slam dunk to start the governance discussion, because it's going to also understand where they are. Do they want no AI, like that customer you said earlier, or do they want, AI everything? And that is such an easy wedge to open the dialogue of what they want while actually solving a problem in tandem instead of just a general workshop that goes nowhere. And so I just want to debrief those because I thought those were really helpful. Anything to add before I switch us back into that internalization dialogue? Because I think there's a lot of great talk there.
No, I think you got it.
All right.
It's
I
a
love
good
it.
start.
I take very rigorous notes. It's the only way I can remember it all. Somebody once blamed, they said I was using an AI to take all the notes. I'm like, no, I'm not AI. I'm actually doing old school paper. So let's talk about that internalize, because I think a lot of MSPs have probably done the turn on all the tools thing. Like, let's give you access to all of the stuff. But this is where I think you're going to bring a lot of value, because with your software background and your outcome orientation, and I think you really think about change management. Like, when you internalized it, what were some of those steps you did beyond just let me turn on the tools? Did you have any intentional efforts inside the business that were goal oriented or OKR oriented or anything around that nature to drive adoption and really to drive that understanding internally and that education internally?
I did. We started with the tools, and we realized that the tools by itself, most of my staff was using it for what we use it for fun.
Yeah.
Hey, help me write this email, help me write this note. How do I here's and which is okay. It was a great help for the techs or the engineers, where they put it there what they did in Copilot, and it rewrote it for the customer. So
Yeah.
that was a great thing that they were doing. But I needed to take it a step further. I needed to, because I want them to think more that of AI than it is. So we have invested in some platforms. One of them is Hats AI,
Mm-hmm.
and Hats AI has been great for us. It has given my team more to do. The one
Mm-hmm.
thing that I started with my company is I did an AI age challenge. I put up a challenge for the team. It was a 4 week thing. Hey, in 4 weeks you need to, and I gave them the guidelines in using any AI LLM or anything, any tool that they want. I asked them to create an agent, and the guidelines were the agent should be able to shave an hour a week from anybody in the team. it can help anybody. It should be able to, and there were guidelines, and I don't have it in front of me. And we every Friday we in the meeting we talked about, do you have an idea? If they didn't have, if my team didn't have idea, we went over this. In the end, there was a monetary prize. As a team, we shared our ideas. As a team, we voted on who had the best idea and the best agent, and there was a monetary prize. And more than monetary prize, they got a PTO, paid time off.
Oh,
So
I love that.
having a little bit more where for the team, it incentivized them. The incentive was just it was a friendly competition, but it got them thinking. It got them thinking. At one point, I gave them an idea, and I'll share it real quick. We do Friday lunches, and every Friday we have, all right, what are we having for lunch? We'll throw in a few ideas that somebody will say yes, and then every Friday it's okay. Who wants? What are you ordering? And then we have a Teams channel. So when people they were stuck for ideas, I asked them, how about we do a Foodie Friday agent? We have a Teams channel where we have all the previous orders. Who can build an agent that can say, hey, it's raining outside. When it rains, we like Panera because we prefer soup.
Yeah.
So let's get Panera. And then take it a step further. Hey, Arti, you for when we go to Panera, here's your order every single time. Is this what you want? Make it easy. So giving the ideas and making it fun. It doesn't have to be about work.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's just getting them to think.
Yeah, I love the AI challenge. Similar thing when I was at Auvik, we did a hackathon, giving engineers 2 days, but I love the 4-week time so they can fit it a little tighter. I like the goal of an hour. And of course, an objective drives the innovation. And you're hitting on a use case that you said, I don't care where the hour came from. When I hear that, what I've learned is with AI, it's all about tipping the domino. People have heard me say that a million times on the show, I'm sure, but it is really about that shift in the brain where they go, oh, AI can do this, it can do that, it can do this, it can do that. And that when you get that moment, that happens during a hackathon, that can happen during a discussion with the client, that can happen in a lot of different use cases. But that's what unlocks the reality that AI is going to start moving the needle forward in that organization. The more people that you can get involved into that aha moment is the more people that can move that transformation forward. And there's one other little thing I wanted to pull here. You said, I don't care where the hour is. And then you talk about this lunch use case. And some people might look at this lunch use case and go, that wasn't a good investment of time. And I'm going to challenge that very aggressively, because what you did is you reduced friction in your organization. And this is what I have found is really successful when it comes to AI. It's not about the big, massive project use case that moves the organization 10x over the next 10 years, but it reduces friction. Your team doesn't think about lunch on Fridays now. They think about getting tickets over the line. And the more you can use AI to reduce context switching, focusing on that instead of your normal business value chart of effort to time and value to effort, it's about reducing context switching so that they can stay in the zone and in the flow and the things that they want, and remove those painful friction points that they don't like. And I think as you start to talk like that, the customers start to hear the value of that. Speaking of, I tried to transition this into customers because Marcial had a great question. He goes, we belong into the trusted advisor space in the boardroom. What is a good line of questioning you have that helps you get invited to the boardroom because you belong there? Like, what are ways that MSPs can position themselves with AI or with AI in the forefront that lets them belong into the boardroom and level up that executive relationship that they have with their customer? How are you talking to your customers to earn that seat?
Earning that seat, see, it's a good, or you have to earn that seat.
Yeah.
We as MSPs, we think we know we're the trusted advisors, but we have to step up. AI is actually a good entry point.
Yeah.
The way I approach my customers is what this challenge did is it showed up some of the ideas that my team can come up with, like from different departments, correct? Like,
Yep.
so that gave me use cases. And we use that when we talk to our customers. We say, There are a few use cases where we know that AI, for the customers who are in AI interested, let me put it that way. Here
Yeah.
are some of the cases. What I would like to do is I would like to get together with your department heads and do a one-on-one session, either with one-on-one session or a group session, so that we can brainstorm some ideas of some repetitive tasks that you're doing. Because the idea here is that it's helping the customer, they will be more inclined to let you in to the the boardroom. And once you're there, hey, if you belong, you belong there. Then you have
Yeah.
to show your presence and say that you belong there. But I believe AI has given us that entry point because it can help every single department, HR, finance, the logistics, anything legal, anything that you put, any department in the company you pick, AI can help. So that's a way in to the boardroom, and
Yeah.
it should always be consultative, educative. How can I help?
I love that. I think you're talking there as horizontal use cases, right? They're use cases that apply to any business, the HR, the finance, the legal. Getting your repertoire of horizontal use cases is a really good skill to build, because you need to be able to think on your feet and provide value there. And I honestly think that's where you start before you start going vertical or IP line of business specific, because I may know unless I'm a vertical MSP, I probably don't know all of the nuances of every construction firm and all the nuances that they might have downstream. And better yet, I probably don't know all their IP related stuff, but I do know they have legal, they make money, they sell product, they have to market, they have to do these things that are fundamental to every business. So you don't have to be an expert in their business. You just have to sound like an expert and apply it to their business. Um, and I think I agree, right? Like the AI is the entry point. Every board is clamoring to understand what your organization is doing with AI. And I think a simple question of, is your board asking about AI? Is it a part of your strategy? Is it something that you have in your annual OKRs? Just really basic sales leading consulting questions are strong there. And then you went into the department head brainstorm. I think that's an area where there's probably a little resistance right now. It's a bit time heavy. It's a bit arduous, but you mentioned it. You have to earn the seat on the boardroom. You don't just get a seat because you showed up and they pay you money. Go ahead. It
Yeah,
sounds like you.
and that's what and that's part of, you picked up on the, as an MSP, we're doing so many other things. Getting into the boardroom, get, if we have to learn their business, right? We need to learn our client's business. Unless you are a niche in, hey, I'm only in this, it's easier. Otherwise, it feels like a barrier to entry. And if you break it down by, let me just talk about HR. I'm telling you, HR is simple questions. I'm sure if you talk to the HR in the company, they'll be like, oh my God, how many times do they ask me how much PTO do I have? Are we off on President's Day or not? These are the simple things that can be done by AI, where you build an agent and nobody has to go through the 80-page handbook to figure this out.
Yeah.
When you go in with this solution, they'll let you in. And then once you're there, then your brain start thinking, oh, where else can I use it? And that's when a customer is in is inviting you there,
Yeah.
and now you do more.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's just, if as a core takeaway, if you don't have those use cases you can rattle off and you're in these interactions, or your BCIOs or your TAMs or your account manager, whatever you call them in your business, don't have that. Back to Artie's point of education, they need to be able to rattle off a handful of use cases. Again, back to our topic at hand, planting trees today to reap the shadow tomorrow. You don't have to know it today, but that might be a really good tactical item to walk out of here with, and make sure that by the end of next week, maybe you can say a little hackathon, whoever can come up with the best use cases internally after interviewing people, and just get them to get that consultative bone, flex that curiosity muscle a little bit. So that leads us perfectly. Look, we wanted to talk about future-proofing business. We wanted to talk about the next wave and whether you're delivering it or whether you're intending to deliver it. So One of those things you just said, you did a hackathon, you internalized everybody, you have everybody educated. Are there other tactics or strategies internally, things you're focusing on in education, ways you're building your business to be ready to deliver it and whenever it is ready to be delivered? Like, what are the things you're doing to prepare for the storm, as a lack of better term?
The storm is,
Storm, calm before the
I
storm.
know,
Storm is
I
AI.
know. Oh my God, AI, did you? It is a storm. I just heard yesterday, and it's interesting. I actually looked it up. Mm, There, apparently, there is a Reddit for where it's just bots. Humans not allowed. I heard yesterday, and there is a website, rentahuman.ai, where AI bots are renting humans for the last leg of
That's
the delivery.
terrifying.
So it's scary. So anyway, coming back to the storm, storm reminded me of that. We need to be prepared. In addition to, like, for me, the biggest thing is getting my team to know internally, right? Internally, we have to, anything that we talk about, it has to be AI intentional. Let me put
I
it
like
that way. AI intentional. Intentionally, are we bringing in AI conversation in the or the mindset? Because simple things, like I said, there's AI in everything. Every tool that we use these days has some form of AI. We cannot use all of those, so we have to know what we're doing. um, Getting my team up to speed, having internal discussions so that we are better prepared, making those conversations with my client. And on top of that, I try every single thing that's out there that comes to AI. I recently got the AI note Plod AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it somewhere. I'm like, I have to try it. And again, the trying is more for so that I can try it out. I can see what works, what doesn't work. That's one of the things. And then I believe the change where it helps me is because I have that software mindset. I have the mindset. We're talking to customers about the outcomes. Hey, here's what you need to get to, right? Mm, mm, I look at things when I'm talking to my customers, when I'm talking internally, I look at things differently. We look at simple things, and I know it may sound simple, looking at things, what are the repetitive things that we're doing?
Yeah.
We're doing that needs to be offloaded. We I tell my team, if I see them doing something 3 times, I tell them you need to find a way to either automate it or use AI to do it, because your time needs to be better spent on education or taking the elevating yourself, uplifting yourself, and uplifting the company.
Yeah, that's how I know I'm talking to an engineer on the other end of this call here. My background, I've spent all my life writing code. Everything I do is code. Um, I the 3x rule is kind of my 3x rule too. If I have to do it a third time, I'm like, I get actually irritable doing the task, and so that's how we know we're an engineering room here. But I love that principle, and you say it's simple, and the thing about this whole transformation is there's a lot of clear, simple exercises that need to be done. It's about just constant reminders. And so I want to underplay the value of just taking a 3x rule and thinking about your business introspectively for the next 20 minutes after the show. Where are things that you do 3 times a week, and could an agent apply? It doesn't mean that you had never considered that it could apply, but how can you go back to your term? How can you be intentional about doing it? It's not about just passively doing AI when the opportunity comes up. It has to be an intentional, I hate to use this term because it's a little bit on the nose, programmatic part of the business that you run, to say, I'm going to make AI change. I want to highlight here, Brett. Thanks for chiming in here. I do love the suggestions on how to get your team buying in on it. I think AI hackathons and those use cases of giving PTO and putting a monetary prize and incentivizing alignment is critical. If the teams aren't there, use those tools she just said. Where are you getting that repetitive feeling? How can you value yourself up by getting rid of those 3 X's? So I know they're simple, but I really love them because the best advice in the world isn't always the most complex. It's the simple reminder to do it. So let's talk about that. We talk about 3X use cases, and this might be future thinking. I understand you might not be there in your organization, so we can kind of pontificate a little bit here. Does AI actually sit in the MSP org chart? Like, do you find a world here in the next handful of years where AI might fit on the org chart? And if it does, what do you do to prepare? And if it doesn't, what do you do to make sure that it does stay intentional?
I do believe it does sit in the org chart because it is technology, it is security. In the end, I bring it down to from the security perspective, right? And as a business owner, as an MSP owner, hey, if it doesn't belong in your org chart, then somebody else is going to come in and take it. And
Yeah.
we've seen that. We have seen that. I have lost not a customer, but an AI project for that reason. I was
Yeah.
a little late in talking to my customer, and they brought in an AI. They
Yeah.
called it an AI officer in their company who drove the AI innovation in the company. And so I have been there. And for that reason, I do believe it belongs in your org chart. I believe we're a little too early, at least in my company. We're making the effort to, and we have all intentions. I'm educating my team, but we're not at a point where I'm ready to have the level of discussions that I should be having with them.
Yeah.
But where we need to get to is get to the use cases that I've given. They're an entry point, but they're not what the client's looking for. They're not where it actually helps the customer.
Yeah.
So you have to get there. To get there, you have to get into the weeds of their business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Artie. I did not mean to interrupt you there.
No, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think I do like that, right? Like, belongs in the business. And what you said was share of wallet, right? If you're not in that room and you're not talking to the customer, you may not churn the client. That's not probably a realistic world, but you may lose that share of wallet. And so that's where, coming back to your earlier point, if you're not having those business conversations and you're not starting yourself to be positioned as a transformation business for your clients, they don't think of you when they go hire that AI person. An AI person goes in there and wedges themselves into steal share of wallet. And look, I don't think most businesses are ready for a CAIO, I think is what you would end up calling it. It's starting to sound like my daughter's, cow game, the CAIEO. But the point being is I don't think we're all there for a CAIO. I would argue almost no company short of enterprise below, especially in the MSP space, is ready for it. But maybe that's a world where VCAIO, starting to get a mouthful, starts to come together, and maybe there is some transformation as a service type of a dialogue. I don't know, but I do know this: we won't know what the answer is, and we definitely won't be ready for the answer if we don't start prepping for it. And so, back to that piece. Let's talk about prep. We've talked about technology. So you talked about tech, the set of tools, and you also started talking about the cultural pieces. So how do we get the customer or the organization internally to think about culture and transformation internally? What about like talent? Like, is there a skill set that you're seeing that is new that maybe you didn't hire a year ago that starts to be something culturally or talent wise you look for in your business as you're starting to add people into the team?
Yes, there there has to be a different. So we did a project for a client, and
Yeah.
it was an AI project. It required programming skills that I know that my team does not have. So internally within TeamLogic, we have an AI engineer
Yeah.
that needs to know more than just the technical work that we do. It
Yeah.
is a different skill set, it is a different talent pool. And knowing that we have somebody internally helps because I can go in and I can go in with that, but it's not
Yeah.
cost effective
Yeah.
right now.
Well, I get it. It's sorry, didn't mean to get too sensitive there. I think the thing is like it's to a point where um the value, and this is where I think a lot of people are struggling. And I'm just kind of gonna verbalize where I think a pain exists. Like we want to transform our small medium businesses, but the skill to deliver those services is extraordinarily in high demand right now, and it's driving up the salary bands of those folks that are there. And so when we talk back to some of your fundamentals earlier, it's like, can we start educating some of our techs to have that AI software skill? Like, there's a lot different than when I was reading, how to build an HTML3 or whatever it was page back in the day, or 4, or how far back I went, and CSS1. Like, we have Claude, we have Python, like we have Claude, we have ChatGPT, we have these things that can help us code. Not that I ever encourage ripping code and just putting it into production without knowing what you're doing. But we could have somebody start building foundation and then maybe build some layers of validation before production. And we cannot have to have that 15, 20-year technologist who knows both AI, software engineering, architecture, and all these different things. And so leaning into AI tools there.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm like, you bring up a good point. In addition to, so if your team knows how to use the AI tools, AI can generate the code itself, right? So
Yeah.
I know that we're a little bit far off, but giving it a prompt to say, hey, give me an agent that will do this, and putting in a problem, so it's there. That is there right now.
Yeah.
Does it do its job? Does it produce the right results? That's where we need to have somebody who can actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think that actually becomes part of the core skill set these days. You may not need. I mean, this is a whole other paradigm and a whole other show around junior engineering. I don't know how that world starts to look, but knowing what the outputs look like and being able to apply base security principles, apply base architecture principles are going to be pretty dang critical. Though that starts to get into a very nuanced future. Let's go back to the foundation again. I'm curious, like, as you look in the MSP space, you're fairly well-rounded. You've met lots of others and you kind of understand the way they work. Like, what are some of these things that we've always looked at in our business as the MSP itself? Like, what are some of these things that we always did, whether it be like we look at recurring revenue this way, or we do it, this way? Like, are there any foundations that have to shift in the way that the MSP works to be ready for this next generation, besides talent, besides culture? But let's get like the accounting or the finance or the really nitty gritty operational stuff.
Adding to AI as a service, as a so we have added a line item, AI as a service, in our brochure.
Yeah.
What that does is that it does add um, more granularity, because I believe in the business, if you're not measuring something, like I said, having an AI engineer is not I don't want to use the word cheap, but it has there's a lot of cost associated with it. So you need to know, with every single thing that you do, you need to know, is it worth your investment?
Yeah.
Right. So you bring up a good point. Knowing where your money is being spent and where you're getting out it has to be. If you're not measuring it, you don't know where it goes.
Yeah.
So yes, it needs to be there. And now that you asked that question, I could do a better job of putting that in my company itself. And
We're all here
yeah,
to learn. Yeah.
I
Like,
know.
yeah, I think what's good about it is, like, I'm asking these questions mainly because everybody else is asking these questions. I think
I
we're
hear
all
you.
at that stage. I don't think anybody has nailed it. I can tell you for a fact, I don't think anybody's nailed it, at least any of the people I've talked to. But I think it's a good challenge, right? Like walking out of today's show, look at the operation, look at the finances, look at the nitty gritty of the business and see where it fits. I always had a saying, if you can't measure it, it doesn't matter. And I've been using that a lot when it comes to AI use cases with customers. If it's this hand wavy thing that I can't measure, they're never going to buy in. And so applying that when you're talking to customers and use cases from earlier, if it doesn't matter, if it's not measurable, it doesn't matter. I want to preface that though, with your hackathon, you got to throw that out of the window. And I know you did. And I respect and appreciate that, because that's the intent of the hackathon is not measurement. It's adoption and utilization of AI in new spaces. And so I pressed you. I've appreciated you to let me push you on some topics here. I didn't even realize we're at 46 minutes already. I told you we'd be awake by the end of the show. I need 10 minutes to wrap us up on segments. And so this is my same question I ask on every show as we go into the ending segment. Is there anything we didn't talk about today that you thought we might have jumped into, or any last pieces of advice you'd give before we jump into the final segment of the show?
I will say it. I have been on the, and again, this is it, for everybody, anybody who's listening to the show. I have tried to include AI. I have been on the other side, on the apprehensive side. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it, because if you're not doing it, somebody else is, and start somewhere.
I love it. Yeah, back to the point. Second best time to plant a tree is today. Look, Arti, I'm going to do my best. This is the hardest part of the show for me, because the hardest part of the show for you is when I start asking really like deep questions at the tail end there. So I appreciate you playing along. Now you get to see me do the hard part of the show, is where I recap it before we go in to the final segment, where it gets a little more fun and we have not last minute signups. And so when we started off the show, Arti, I really love your story, right? 10 years software engineer, or 20 years software engineering. That's where you and I can connect. And 10 years as an MSP owner. I think you're doing amazing things. And this show just only validated that for me. We started pulling back the threads on like, what can we do? What are the next steps if you haven't done anything? And you hit education. Education's like a theme. It's a byline. It's like a steel thread through every topic we ever talk about. And then you talked about kind of those core principles in your business that wrap around it, being humble, over communicating, always think of the customer. But when you talked about education, those applied. You said, break down the buzzwords. And that's a really important thing. If you're looking at your deck that you're talking to your customer with, and you can't give it to somebody that is not technical, like give it to your spouse or give it to your family member. If they can't read that deck, your customer probably can't read that deck. So break down the buzzwords and start with really simple stuff. Like, you probably have Microsoft SKUs. I'm sure Microsoft would love for you to use more Copilot. Start there, internalize it first. You gave amazing tactics around that, like the hackathon. I call it a hackathon, but the 4-week exercise where you let everybody solve friction points in the organization. I love the North Star you put around it too. Let's target an hour. It doesn't need to boil the ocean. We just want to find an hour back. And if you had 5 projects that gave you an hour back every week across the whole organization, that's going to compound if you keep doing those exercises. Now, I skipped a piece on accident. Back to the customer relationship. 3 things you should be doing today, even if you're not selling AI. You need to be building that relationship of trust that you are the person that can transform them. Even if you're not selling AI today, that trust is going to preclude that. And so if you're not selling it today, you have a whole year or 6 months or whenever you're going to sell it to start building trust, so that when you do go offer the AI as a service like Arti is doing, that trust is there and you're not just coming back to build it, then sell it, because that puts you another 6 months behind. Talk about secure at the foundation level, understand all the different data that's in there, understand their data governance and their data strategy around security, and understand where they want to go at the very starting point of this whole journey, which is an AUP. It's an amazing wedge to understand the business's goals. Almost there. I see it's a lot. We walked away with a lot of takeaways today, Arti. We then kind of pivoted. Marcel asked a wonderful question around how do you earn the seat to the boardroom? We earn the seat right now, like leveraging AI as an entry point. I think it's really real. There is probably not a boardroom where somebody isn't asking what's going on with AI in their business. You have to have that trust first, again, before you can earn that seat. But once you have the conversation where trust is there, you can display use cases. Those use cases you generated with your hackathon earlier, where those use cases you trained your VCIOs and TAMs and told them to go discover and come back. You can get them by working with the department heads and brainstorming. And if you can get the client's department heads to do those interviews, you're starting to earn that seat. But do realize you don't have to understand every business. There's horizontal flows, there's invoices, there's marketing, there's sales, there's AR, there's PR, there's all these different things that exist in every organization. So just have a couple of those bullets and apply it to the business. Finally, how do you stay on top of all this noise? You have to be, and I love these words that you used, Arti, AI intentional. AI intentionality is really difficult because there's so much happening so fast. And so what you have to do, like you said, you got a Plod. I got my replacement Plod. Mine broke. I don't know why mine broke, but they were really good. They gave me a free pro. Like shout out to Plod for for replacing it for free. But you have to try all the new tech, try all the new stuff. Focus on use cases where maybe there's 3x things happening each week where you can say, hey, let's get rid of that. Let's reduce that friction. And then finally, while the board may not have a CAIO today, they still need somebody to guide them through it. And so before we go into those businesses, we take that trust, we bring those use cases, we understand by doing it in our business and we apply it to them. We might just earn that trust to be that CAIO for them and earn our seat at that board set, earn our seat at the board level. And so that is my attempt to recap everything there, Arti. I like it from people who just have 30 seconds to jump at the end of the show. But now is the fun part. Did I miss anything there? Did we get most of the top?
You got it.
It's a mouthful. But that's because you gave us so much to walk away with. So look, the last segment's really easy. We got 8 minutes. I promised I'd get Arti into her 7 o'clock, and I want to give her a few seconds. I love this. I'm just going to give him Kurt a shout out here. They're going to be running a Vibathon soon. I've never heard that term, so I really like it. Kurt's great. Goodell does all sort of stuff. And money is on the table for the top teams with the best Vibe apps, music, video, or written word. And so maybe think about it as a Vibathon. Hey, it's keeping the innovation alive.
I know, right? I love the name, Vibathon.
I know. I'm probably going to adopt that, Kurt. So thanks for hopping in there. All right, we got 6 minutes. We're going to do the rapid fire wrap up. Arti, if you haven't been on the show, no worries. Or if you haven't watched the show to this point, no worries. It's real simple. It's quick, fun questions. You have as much time as you want to think about the answers, but you only get 1 sentence. And sometimes it's really freaking difficult because ChatGPT generates the questions. And some of them are really deep, but you get 1 sentence. Sometimes I let you break. What's one trend that keeps you up at night these days?
One trend that keeps me up at night these days?
1 sentence. I know ChatGPT is ruthless with these questions.
No. As an MSP, what still keeps me up at night is the security part of it.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody's rushing to look at Moltbot and Clawbot and all that. And we talked about digital employees. That's the thing that actually keeps me up at night is digital employees. With two young ones, I'm wondering where the world works with that. But you're right. Back to the basics. Security. Everybody's rushing to do these things. Get to the foundation.
Yep.
You were talking to Arti from 10 years ago as she was emerging and building a brand new MSP today. What's a piece of advice you'd give her?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'll give the same advice that if I'm talking to myself from 10 years ago, I'm just going to say what I kept on telling myself: failure is not an option. You can do it, and you will get there.
I love it. And it's very adamant that advice would have paid off, and it's accurate. But it is a long journey as a fellow entrepreneur. Yes, it is a very long
easy.
One trend you're excited about right now. Doesn't even have to be AI related or MSP related. It could be anything.
I'm just gonna say it is AI.
Yeah,
We all saw Super Bowl, and apparently there were Super Bowl ads. They were full on AI.
yeah,
It's both exciting and scary.
yeah, yeah. It's both the thing that I'm excited about and that keeps me up at night. All right, final question. It doesn't have to be that deep. Oh, actually, there's two questions. Sorry. I think this one's easy. You've got a lot of books behind you. Which book do you recommend to every MSP leader?
I have like I'm gonna go back to the basics. Honestly, the book that you heard Atul Gaikwande's checklist manifesto?
Uh-uh. Checklist manifesto.
Checklist manifesto.
All right.
Everything has to be a checklist. Again, it's back to basics, and being a software developer, that's how I think.
I think my old boss used to read that book. Everything had to be a checklist, and then even further, it had to be in priority. You could there was never equality in the checklist. Everything that had to be a priority at the top. I like it. Checklist manifesto. You may enjoy my book. I always recommend Sales Acceleration Formula. I wouldn't recommend it to most folks on the show, but with a software engineering background, it looks at sales through a software engineering lens, and it just makes it
Okay.
at the accelerators of it. All right, final question. Then we're going to get the shameless pitch. I'm going to let you get into your next meetings. Finish this sentence. Future ready MSPs are blank.
Future ready MSPs are. There's too many things that come to my mind.
I know. One sentence makes it so hard.
I know. Future ready MSPs are, and I'm gonna go back to, because I look at it as from the business perspective. They're stable companies who have a team that, oh my god, you put me on the spot with this one.
It's all good.
Yeah, you put me on the spot with this one, but I'm gonna make it very simple. Future ready MSPs are companies who have a team ready to service the clients now and for what's next.
I love it. I think that goes back to your points from earlier. They're companies that focus on over communicating. They're companies that focus on taking care of the customer. And I think, it's tough to fit it in a sentence, but what you got a really good byline in there, which is they're ready for the future, which means they're educating themselves today, and they're always, always, always learning. You said that multiple times during the show, and something you and I share very much. Look,
Yeah.
Arti, I know sometimes I put you on the spot, but I think you walked away. There was a lot of comments, a lot of people walking away with a lot of nuggets. So I think you shared a lot of knowledge today. So thank you so very much. The very end of the show, please do a shameless plug. I'm going to put Arti's LinkedIn in here in chat. So go follow Arti. Go talk to Arti if something popped out that you want to chat with her. But go ahead, Arti. I'll leave the
Oh my
floor.
God, I can't believe we're at 59 minutes. I didn't think I would last 9 minutes. So thank you, John, for making it easy. Thank you for having me on the show, Arti. I am the owner of TeamLogic IT here in Southern California, and we work with MSPs, we work with businesses. I want to be the person my client calls me for anything. I tell them, call me for anything that plugs in. If it's a refrigerator or a microwave, let me call the electrician for you.
I like that. I do like that. That resembles so much of who you are and why I wanted you on the show, Arti. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much. It's been another wonderful Thursday morning on Coffee Chats. Thank you so much for getting on bright and early, Arti, on your side. Maybe you've had the opportunity to watch the sunrise now as we've been on the show. So thank you. Thank you for everybody that is asking wonderful, great questions. Kurt, Brett, Marcial, you made it fun for us. So thank you. Everybody have a wonderful morning. Cheers.
Thank you for having me, John.